oftentimes animation, taking extreme care with its documentation, sometimes with motion capture, and often through a circular or sometimes conical vocabulary. I took a look at a document this morning, which I think you're studying. Thomas sent me, I think, a syllabus about language and thinking, and I've been familiar with your program for a few years. It's really a great pleasure to be here. And the freedom and constraint focus of how you're working, I think this week and in weeks ahead, it reminded me of an animation that I did when I was 20 years old, so maybe similar to your age, in which the constraint that I placed on the body was that the body would be completely prone for the entire duration of the choreography, and that a series of scores and accidents would script this body. So we're looking at that early sketch, which was about 10 years ago now, and again, 48 points or joints were animated in succession, and created perhaps a very distorted body. So that we'd look at this together, because it then, for me, this body, this animated choreography, was something that I didn't think would be possible to perform. So while outlining and sort of starting to define a media practice for choreography, I found that the digital tools often created impossible anatomies. So great freedom was offered by software and also by animating the body on screen. But constraints could either be composed, for example, or imposed. For example, a body which is prone, which cannot rise. But then actually I saw the software is actually constraining my body in a certain way, in that it was making things I may not ever be able to do. For example, inserting a limb through a torso, or having a head spin around three times, maybe like the Exorcist or something. But so these broken forms, it was why in the early part of my choreography, my work was not shown very much. But for me, it led to an interesting concept that I wanted to pose here, which was composing through points, sometimes through circles or cones, and through a grid. So I'd actually like to fast forward to let's see here. Let's see if I can load this up. This is sort of this is a motion capture work which is then transposed into the schematic of a theater, sort of perhaps like this theater that we're all in. This was made in 2004, and shortly after this, I actually began to learn much more intensively about Anthony's work. And to me, his work was a revelation on a number of levels, in terms of light, in terms of its sculptural and physical quality, but also the way that Anthony's work, I would say, implicates the body of the viewer. So let's say this is my practice in media art circa 2004. I then began to encounter the way that Anthony's work is in some senses completed by the viewer and by the viewer's body. This is of course, in this video, a figure's body is transposed into a space, but oftentimes in Anthony's installation, the viewer's body migrates in space and experiences the installation physically. As Anthony has mentioned, he came up with a 36-point grid structure, a three-dimensional plane of light, which will take place inside of the BAM Fisher Theater where we'll be performing. I have actually here on our, have here available to us a moving model of that installation, which I'd like to show you. Great. You're viewing something called the secret backup version, which should be fun. So this is a software program written for the purpose of ECLIPSE, which is the name of the production that we're working on. And what this allows us to do is to figure and to prefigure the very beautiful, very harmonic lighting sequence which Anthony composed and which he described to you. So what we're seeing here is, I'll just quickly flip through this rather quickly. What we start to see here is a working maquette by which we can view the patterns that Anthony has proposed. The very beautiful grid as well as the patterning which he explained with great care. This is an aerial view, so we're effectively watching the way that his vision takes shape in time and in motion. And in terms of constraining, we're taking a look here at 216 light cues which script a dance. And most of the cues have a duration of 13.6 seconds. So the dancers who maybe you can identify and meet afterwards are having to count over the course of an hour or be aware of a constantly shifting space with a duration of 13.5, actually 13.6 seconds. And their timings depend on this on this structure. It's treated almost like a script or a scenario. So I wanted to, in a way, pair together with Anthony's presentation and give an illustration of this. So we're going very quickly through, actually, we've just completed here movement 1, and we'll let that iterate out. Movement 1 is composed of 21 light cues. We also have the opportunity to take a look at, actually to listen, I believe. Anthony mentioned a very specific sound design, which forms, as he said, the armature for the project ECLIPSE. He mentioned a projector whirring, and in particular a 16mm projector. So this is, I wanted to give us a concrete experience of this sound. I think a part of what's interesting in a room like this as well is we're watching a projection as we as time goes on. However, it's a very silent DLP, digital light projector. Whereas I think the gesture here that's operating in our production is of a recorded projector in past tense, 16mm projector that Anthony recorded at the Anthology Film Archives in New York. To give a little bit of an experience of the sound interventions that he described at the 3 points in the work, I'd like for us to experience that in this space. And another aspect of theatrical sound design, as well as Anthony's installations, is a very acute attention to sound design and to sound spatialization. And the sound design is composed by David Grubbs, who is a colleague of ours. And one thing that's been impressive to me about working with Anthony is how remarkable his faculties for imagining movement are. Not only in terms of light, but in terms of sound. And there's a choreography to that sound event that we just heard, which has a motion and a whole trajectory behind it. So these are some of the examples of our project in process here. I think to harmonize a bit with Anthony's presentation, I wanted to show you how the structure has impacted my own choreography and thinking in terms of